Good morning. We're continuing with the Maym Rabim and Likuti Torah Parshas Noach. So we learned yesterday that the water of the flood are called Maym Noach, the water of Noach, and Noach means rest. Similarly, it was the opposite of rest, but what they brought to the world, Naicha Derucha. So they brought rest. Ultimately, they purified the world from its impurity. So eventually, at the end, the outcome of it, the consequence of the flood was rest. So now we're going to discuss how the many waters, the flood that comes to a person, that every individual deals with, uplifting him, elevating him, the same way that the flood purified the earth and elevated the earth. Veine shibud haparnasa nikra gam ken Maym Noach. What does shibud haparnasa mean? Shibud is to be mishuabad. Mishuabad means that is almost like servant to it. He is enslaved to it. Right? So he's enslaved to providing sustenance. It's also called water of Noach. It's a flood that comes to a person. He has so many worries, concerns. The pasuk says, Asher nishbati, that Hashem made a covenant that the water of Noach should not come again upon the earth. That Hashem made a covenant, shavua, swore not to get to this type of anger that would lead to such flood. So the same way, and obviously in the time of Mashiach, all the different kinds of exiles and being subjugated to other kingships and countries and kings, governments will be nullified, and all these are coming. They are the reason why we are being dominated by other nations is because of Shibud Malchuyos, which means the subjugation of other dominions. And so Shibud Malchuyos could also mean that you have worries of sustenance. He says that this is parallel to the water of the flood. In the same way the water of the flood is gushing water, they're washing you away. So the worries of it, not just the worries, the being constantly involved with making a living or providing sustenance purifies the soul, it refines it, just like the water of the flood that purified the earth from its impurity. So we find that when we say the obligation, the responsibility of working, providing, it also Maym Noach, also like the water of Noach. Why? Because it purifies the soul. Just like Maym Noach purifies the earth, Maym Noach over here purifies the nefesh, the soul. How do we know this? So it says in Bereshis Sabo, which is a midrash, it says, "U'kemayim razal shebochar lo Avram Avinu shibud neged gehenum." Hashem asked Avram Avinu, if your children will sin, what would you prefer what punishment should I choose for them? What kind of atonement, what kind of purification they need to go through to cleanse themselves? You have two options: Gehenna, which is the purgatory, or they'll have a hard time making a living. It can be challenging for them. And that struggle itself will take care of that, will find them, will purify them. So Avraham Avinu chose Shibud, that they would have a challenging, they would be dominated by others, they would have to figure out their way. Shekmo Yishiv Shal Lan Neshama Lo V'Gan Eden Lenus Miziv HaShechina. It says the same way the neshama cannot go to Gan Eden. Once the neshama leaves the body, it travels upwards, cannot go direct to Gan Eden. First has to be prepared for Gan Eden. So one of the preparation for Gan Eden is to be purified. Purification in a way means purgatory. It cleanses itself from Chizu Da'alma. The Zohar calls it the impression of this world. It has to cleanse itself, whether it's we mentioned Kafakela, or we mentioned other type of purifications, but it goes through purification. And then it comes to Gan Eden. What does it do in Gan Eden? So it says, La'elis Miziv HaShechina. It derives enjoyment from the ray of the divine presence. So first it has to go through Gehenna, then it reaches Gan Eden. This is a Gemara in Chagiga 15b. The Gemara says there that Acher, which was Elisha ben Avuya, rabbis had a debate what should be done with him. He passed away. They said, what do you think the best solution for Acher? He has two options: either to come back and atone for the things that he wronged, or he should go to Gehenna, cleanse himself, and then continue to Gan Eden, because all the Torah that he learned and taught, he definitely will have some cleansing to do, and that's it. Right? He became an apostle. The famous story of Elisha ben Avuya. Was a teacher of Rabbi Meir, a great rabbi. So they had this debate: what should be done with him? Down here, the rabbis are asking, should he come back or should he go through Gehenna and end up in Gan Eden? So they answered, Mutav de ledaine v'leisel omedos. He said it's better for him to be judged, pay your dues, and go to the world to come. Don't come back here. Another cleansing that happens upstairs is called Nahal Dinu. It's explained in Torah and Pashas Mikis. Alter Rebbe also discusses this Nahal Dinu, this river of Dinu. Daveling in this river is not easy. It's difficult for the nefesh to do that. But without teveling there, it cannot go to the next level. So it has to go through this immersing process in Al Dinu. He says you can see it upstairs. In order to go to the next level, you have to go through some kind of challenge. And the same thing happens here. To break certain boundaries, they call the glass ceiling. It's an imaginary one, or something that you created to yourself, or your childhood, your upbringing. To break it, you have to go through a challenge. You have to work hard. But this is parallel to the upstairs, or the upstairs parallel to here, or we are parallel to the upstairs. But the rabbis, in a way, recognizing the greatness of Gan Eden, that they say it's better for him to go through this, to go through the challenge, and cleanse himself and make it to Gan Eden, make it to Olam Haba.
It's surprising they would say that, because wouldn't it be a direct access to Hashem being here versus over there? They have a ray
thing is, this famous saying that all the ways, which means any kind of travel, any kind of journey, has to do with there's danger in it. So, who is guaranteeing to us that another trip to this world would be better for the soul? Meaning that the soul would not be tainted again, would not be challenged again. Being here again, it's another.
Once you're here, it's one thing, but
Yeah, it's the whole debate in the Gemara. It's mutav leishlaniva. Maybe it's better for somebody not to be created, but they concluded that it's better not to be created. But once you're already created, it's just fine. You're already created. You have certain advantages that comes along with it, and utilize it. But to come back, it's a painful situation. And from here we see clearly, the rabbi says it's better for Achel not to come back, and it's not just him; it's general. It's reincarnation is one thing, but someone that didn't complete his mission in that form. And to just come back here it's painful for him, could be painful for the family, painful for everyone. Imagine someone has a very short journey in this world. It's very painful. I think in general the process of neshama being invested in a physical body, it's painful for the neshama. Even the body probably, even though it needs it, it's a foreign entity in a way. And then being here is challenging for the neshama. So okay, eventually we'll reach some kind of elevation and be greater for the neshama, but the journey itself is not easy. I tell you, invest now everything you have, telling you in 10 years from now you'll see great profit, but you need this money. So now, taking everything that you have and put it into this venture, and it's painful for you. You need it. Now you have to scratch from here, from there to survive. So it makes it, it's not a billion to say, okay, I'll put $1 million here, $1 million there, maybe from the 10 things, 2 or 1 would be amazing. He doesn't care, sleeps well at night. But the guy who has barely nothing in it is investing it. So wow, it's difficult for him. So the neshama, it's a challenging thing to come to this world. Now, now this whole thing is connected, as we said before, that the main noyach, the water of noyach, is the challenging things that we go through in this world. And they're there to purify us, to elevate us. So it's like almost like purgatory, but in a different way. So the whole idea of purgatory is not for punishment; it's to enable you to go to the next level, right? Cleanse you, whether it's this challenging river, Nahadinu, or it's Kafakila, whatever it is. The neshama has to go through. It's challenging. Fine, to take me to the next level, but in the meantime, to go through it, it's not easy. So to go through shibud aparnaso, which means the toiling of livelihood, it's not just some people got lucky, they do 9 to 5, and it's very easy for him. They don't have to invest much of their mind into it. They get paid well, and all the benefits. Very few, and they don't have to worry. They're not the type that they spend a lot, so they always have enough and they're comfortable. But most of the time, it doesn't work that way. Most people make whatever they make, they spend, and they spend even more than they make, and it's challenging for them. Constantly chase it, and I think it's somewhat designed this way that people would be on the chase, because otherwise they would rest. There would be no motivation for them to continue, unless there are a few people who are money for them is a goal, so they have nothing to do with their expenses and their lives and the lifestyle. They couldn't care less. they love their lifestyle. They don't have a good lifestyle, but they love it. But they just chase the dollar. So it's a different animal, different type. But I'm talking about people that they need money to eat. They need money to live, and it's never enough because whatever it costs them to live, it's pretty much making it. So this is the main noyach. Why is he calling it again noyach? Because ultimately it leads to tranquility, or ultimately would lead to purification of the nefesh, of the soul, refines the soul. I mean, if you even think about it in terms of ego, right? So 18 years old, 20 years old, or I don't know, maybe even 16, a person thinks, oh, I'll conquer the world, I'll make all this money, and I'll make all this. And then he reaches to 21, and suddenly he needs to beg for a job, he needs to go for interviews. Interview is a grueling process, right? He has to go through and has to speak about himself and what his accomplishments are and what his failures are, and then he has to work and people watching him and saying, oh, okay, you did good, this you didn't do good, you came late, you went this, you went that. So you ask yourself, what's the point of all that? You see that there's got to be something here. Hashem didn't just create a world where 99% of the people are trying to make it, you know?
We're calling the waters by its potential, not really addressing it for what it is in that moment. Because I mean, a flood comes in, it's disaster. I mean, it can destroy everything. It's, you're looking at it as saying it has a potential. Eventually, it will be. But in that moment,
in the moment, what it does in that moment, it distracts you, right? A distraction. That's really what it does, because obviously over here we're not dealing with a physical water when it comes to parnasa, but it distracts you many times to think that this is the main thing. But like, for example, as you become also a husband, a father, and so you suddenly you're wearing more hats. The moment you wear more hats, you say, okay, so this is the most important, and then you do the next thing. This is the most important. So every aspect that you do has, whatever you're involved with has importance, right? It has a lot of importance, but then what is the most important? So there's nothing that's really the most important, but the main noyach, this gushing water, is distracting you from what is really the most important. But eventually there's a purpose in it. There's a reason to it. That's really what he's telling us. And what is it? The same way that Maym Noach tiharu et haaretz, they made the earth pure. They did mikvah to the world, so they do mikvah to the nefesh. This worries that we have.
I read this week on my Kabbalah that Noach was responsible for the Mabul. That's what they call it, Maym Noach, a Maym Shel, the water.
We mentioned it yesterday that if Noach would have brought a korban before, it would stop the flood. So, because he brought a korban afterwards. So it says that if he would bring a korban before, maybe it would stop it. And yeah, he didn't work with the people. Whoever came to him, asked him, why are you building this ark? So he said, because Hashem is going to bring a flood. But he didn't really went out there to convince the people to change their ways. That's the difference between them.
Who was responsible for it, for the Mabul? For this deluge?
No, it says ki shchit kol basar dar kol haaretz, so which means that shchit kol basar. Everyone were responsible. Every single person at that time was corrupt. Shchit kol basar. Rashi tells us that there are two things, gezel and arayot, which means that they were involved with thievery.
I could have done better.
Thievery and immorality, adultery, incest. They had a lot of things that they were not. Why? It says the Mabul is coming to purify the world.
Yes.
meaning that the whole world was tameh. For example, he mentioned Sodom yesterday. Sodom was a local surgery, meaning that only in that specific place, Hashem. Yeah.
Oh.
Hashem didn't destroy the whole world. They were bad, so Hashem killed them. Hashem took care of them. But Noah, the whole world was washed. So it shows that everyone were on the same page. They're all on the same page. Noah was tzaddik. It says, Ele Tolot. Right. It says, Ele Tolot Noach ish tzaddik. So the commentators who said that he was tzaddik only in his generation, but there are commentators who say, look, if Noah was able to be tzaddik in generations of wicked, everybody around them was Reshaim. They're all wicked. But he was still able to be tzaddik. Imagine how much better he would be in a positive environment. If he was so successful in a negative environment, he was successful to be tzaddik. I mean, he's the one, probably the only one in the Torah. He's the only one. The Torah testify that he is tzaddik. Show me, where does it say, Ele Todot Moshe, Moshe is tzaddik? It doesn't say it in the Torah, Moshe is tzaddik. It says, Moshe Avdi, Ne'emanu B'chol Beiti. There's very different types of titles. Noach is the only one that has the title tzaddik. Signature, Hashem signs it. Hashem signs it on his name. But what's so special about Noach? Noach was tzaddik in a generation of wicked people. Everyone was wicked. Hashem is saving, he's the only person who's being saved. So yeah, the Zohar criticized him. Zohar says that he should have be more involved with other people.
Right.
But on his level, he was tzaddik. He himself was. He didn't get involved with gezel and arayot and adultery, immorality, incest, all the other things that they were doing.
We cannot change what it says. It says means that God loved them.
100%, exactly.
There's a reason here.
Yeah.
It says that it reminds me of how, like, right now Jews aren't missionaries, right? We don't go out telling people to believe in the truth. There's one God, and how come we're just going to let everyone just keep going without telling them,
Look
right?
what he's doing.
Because
He wakes up early to come here to teach us to be better, to learn.
But Noah.
What should
It says Ele Toldot Noach ish tzaddik. So the Torah says the word Noach twice in the same pasuk. 1 second. No, I'm talking about something else. So it says Noach twice, right? Ele Toldot Noach ish tzaddik. So we learned yesterday that the word Noach is from the word Menucha, right? Menucha, rest.
No.
So it says that Noach not only bringing rest down here, is also creating Menucha upstairs in the heavens. That's why you mentioned that Noach Matzachen, he was Hashem find favor in his Hashem's eyes. He found favor, so he created Menucha, rest, tranquility, also upstairs, not only here in this world. That's why the pasuk says twice. Anyhow, it says Ve'ine Shiabud, saying that water of Noach is water of flood. Right, washes the world. What does it have to do with us? So it tells us that we have parnasa. We're running after the trying to make a living, and we have all these worries of the parnasa. This client wants this. This way, people are, even the people that have businesses that are involved with their businesses. It's called also mabul of thoughts. Mabul meaning a flood of thoughts. How many people can tell you that in the middle of the day, at 12 o'clock, they can close their eyes and meditate about whatever they want?
I do.
Okay, but
I did it for many, many years, every day. For 10 minutes, I go away. I burn, and I wake up fresh, and I go places.
You take a 20-minute siesta.
15 minutes to 20. I sit down in my store, my boutique, from New York. Years, every day. You sit down, sit like this, close my eyes, and I go whatever I want.
Yeah, but what do you do if a client comes in?
My wife, I have one.
Yeah.
My wife and the cousin sister.
They said most of the time people are chasing it and chasing it.
Here.
Yeah, of course. So it says, what is the purpose of it? Why did Hashem make it in such a way that we have to chase the parnasa like this? Chase sustenance. People have to run and be busy, and the more businesses you have, the more worries you have, right? The more thoughts you have, Mechasim, Arbe Daga, right? There's more worries. Why Hashem made it this way? So he says ultimately is the same way that the water of the flood purified the world. They elevated the world now to another level.
It's like a mikveh.
Mikveh to the world. It says the worries of Parnas are doing mikveh to us, to our nefesh. That's what it does. And it takes us to the next level. As we go through it, it elevates us.
You made me now change my mind about Noach. When you told me that, in time, in each Dorotav means that 99% were bad and he's the only one that was it. That's to be powerful.
That's hard. It's hard to be a tzaddik when everybody around you are wicked. Imagine a child grows up in a neighborhood that everyone is gangs and all the bad things around him. What do you expect from the child? It's for sure going to be the same like them.
Correct.
But if you're still able to become a normal person, for that person you say, wow. If you grow up in a nice suburb, beautiful neighborhood, Ivy League schools, so fine, you become a lawyer, accountant, a doctor, it's normal. That was the trip, that was the journey that was already destined for you. But a guy that grows up in Harlem and he becomes a normal human, becomes a decent person and a contributing person, that's a greatness, right? So Noach made it. Noach made it in one against everyone.
So
It says, not only that, listen to the Torah tells us another chidush. Rashi tells us that Hashem tells him, Mikol ha'behema teorah ve'et she'enena teorah. So how are you supposed to know what tahor and what not? Where there was Torah wasn't then. That to teach us ma'ale gira, mafris parsa, the Torah was not there. So the Rashi tells us, from here we know that Noach learned Torah. He already learned Torah before, because he was able to know which behemot is kasher and which behemot is not.
For the korban later, after the...
Not only the korban, for the ark. Because he put on the ark only the kosher. And kosher he has to bring 7. From the non-kosher he brought 2. So how did he know? He had to learn Torah before. So it says that he learned Torah. Noach learned Torah.
But didn't Hashem command him to do this?
Hashem commanded him, but how do you know? Hashem commanding him, but how does he know? The Torah does not tell us what is kosher and what is not. The Torah gives him instruction. The whole, you should have 7, this is you have 2.
Tahar, not tahar.
Yeah. So it said, so Rashi tells us that from here we learn that Noach studied Torah before.
Yeah, but what was this Torah? What form? How is it a download? Like you just got a mental download?
Hashem transmitted to certain individuals in the generation the wisdom of the Torah, and they learned it the same way that it says Avraham Avinu not only doesn't even say about learning, but it says that he fulfilled it. Yaakov Avinu, it says Yoshev Ohalim, he was the man of Torah. He sat and learned Torah. That's why he was called the chosen, Bechir Avot, the chosen one, because his main occupation was learning Torah. So it says about the yeshiva of Shem Ve'ever. Shem Ve'ever was the sons of Noach, right?
Yeah, Adam Rishon,
right? Adam Rishon, Shem Cham Ve'Yafet. But it says there was a yeshiva of Shem Ve'ever that Yaakov went to learn by them. It says for 14 years he learned in the yeshiva of Shem and Ever. Anyhow, so it says, Ve'ine Shebud Eina Pirush Ma Shesh Alenu Atum Melech Shenitim B'Tunu Mas. It says, Shebud, it's not, does not mean that there is right now a king that is charging us taxes. It says even in the time of Beis HaMikdash there was a Jewish king, and King Solomon had high taxations to build the Beis HaMikdash. It says that they needed to give 10th of their assets, of their money, to Shlomo Melech, so you can build the Beis HaMikdash. So, when we say the word shi'abud, or shi'abud, which means to be subjugated to something, to work hard and to have tremendous work at something, it's not that someone is taxing you. Ella, what does it mean by it? It says when the Beis Hamikdash was around, at that time there was tremendous blessing given to the Jewish people, and the land of Israel was the land flowing with milk and honey. That means that everyone was wealthy at the time. The Beis Hamikdash, everyone, or the majority of the people. It's like, I don't know, living in what's today? You'd find Norway. Say Norway, they had tremendous resources. The government, the country, so they give it to everything is easier there. I never lived there, but that's what I read. That it's like in terms of quality living, it's the best place in the world because of the resources that the government has and gives it to.
They had resources in Venezuela and they gave it to the government. Look what happened in Venezuela.
Each place handles themselves differently, apparently. But
You know, I mean,
people that are not corrupt, they don't just keep it for themselves. They try to, they give to others. I don't understand it because how much can you take? I mean, what are you going to do with all that? I mean, say Putin, they say he has 200 billion, right? Personal. So fine, keep it. Say keep it, Mr. Putin. But now give to other people. Make sure that the poor people have.
When you compel.
It's like, where do you stop? It's like, what point is enough? And you say, okay, my kids, my grandkids, my great grandkids, they have enough, and now I can try to do gmilut chasadim. I can try to do some chesed. So somehow, in no way, they were able to put it together. That's what it seems like, that they're
And I know that
giving it to.
the conservatives and even the people that are religious goyim, they give more money than the not. This is by themselves. They don't have. Nobody has to put a gun to their head and say.
Right, you're saying.
Right, and when you give voluntarily from your heart, it's better than the government taking it from you.
No, but in no way, it's not that the government was taking it from somebody. For example, right now they found gas in Israel, okay? Natural gas. The natural gas brings, let's say the guy who develops this pumping systems and everything, gas lines, he gets 40-50% of the profit. The government gets 50% of the profit. The government is not taxing him. For his profit, he would have to pay taxes. But there's 50% now profit goes to the government because it belongs to the government. The land is
they made a deal, so he would develop it.
He'll develop, and they keep 50% of it. Now, let's say the 50% is $10 billion a year. What does he do with the $10 billion a year? Netanyahu doesn't take it to his pocket. The $10 billion a year comes to the they call the kupa, the bucket, and from there they will distribute it to education, to the elderly, to here, to there. Understand? So the more you have it, the more you can contribute to it. So it seems like in Norway they're somehow doing better. The bucket is being filled quicker and deeper, and they're able to use it at different for different things, to improve the lives of the people. So the time of the Beis Hamikdash, it was flowing. It says nimshechet bracha v'hashpa'at tzumah, mean intense, tremendous blessing, flow. And so much so that the land was flowing with milk and honey. Lo al pi hateva klal. It was beyond and above nature. What was happening in Israel at the time. It says in the Gemara at the end of Tractate Tubot in page 111, A. At that time there was no dargot, no worries, and there was no worries of parnasa at that time of the Beis Hamikdash. Right? Clearly, the Gemara says at that time no one was worried about parnasa. Lo haya klal. Klal means whatsoever, nothing. Vata, but now everyone has it. Yesh l'chol echad ve'echad yigiot to the asok b'inyan olam hazeh hagashmi. You can't. How many people can say, I do only what I like to do? My schedule is 100% independent of what I feel like. And if I want to sit today and learn Torah the whole day, that's what I'm going to do. The time of Golus, the time of exile, we are required to toil in our jobs, in our work. And to stand, and not only that, you have these worries, but you have to stand firm against this flood. You can't let it wash you away. You have to somehow sustain it, right? Maym Rabim. And this is the many waters that are called Maym Rabim. Ultimately, they will create rest. Through the challenging, the many waters, the many worries, the neshama is uplifted to a higher level. So before the neshama was invested in the body, had a certain level. Now after it's invested in the world and goes through the many waters, the many worries, especially of sustenance, of making a living, the neshama would be uplifted to a higher level. Remember, Azal, famous teaching in Pirkei Avos, in Ethics of the Fathers, where it says, Yofu shachas b'tshuva, it's better to have 1 hour of tshuva and good deeds in this world than the entire life of the world to come. So the same way that Mei Noach, the water of Noach, the same way that the waters of Noach, of the flood, brought about purification and elevation to the world, to the earth. Similarly, serving Hashem, but not just serving Hashem with challenges. At the same time dealing with parnasa and other worries, other issues, it brings about purification and refinement to the person, and ultimately elevates him to a greater level than the neshama been before coming into this world. The neshama had, whatever the neshama was, and at whatever level the neshama had or sustained before, through these challenges, the neshama goes to a higher level. That's why it's better to be an hour of tshuva and good deeds in this world than the entire life of the world to come. Why? Because the world to come is a world that you have delight from the ray of the Shekhinah. What does it mean, delight from the ray of the divine presence? It says you have delight from your comprehension, that you are comprehending everything that happens. You're exposed to godliness and you get it. We are exposed to spirituality and you really live it. It's not concealed from you, it's not hidden, you see it. And that's where the enjoyment is. Whereas a lot of frustration comes to people, the lack of understanding. They don't know what's happening. They don't see the picture. They don't see the full picture. Even sometimes they miscommunication. They don't listen to someone else. They get frustrated. They get upset. In Gan Eden, in heaven, Nanin, the reason why they are benefiting, they are enjoying, they have delight because of Hasaga. They have perception. They are masigim. They are grasping everything that happens. Grasping is the right word.
I'm grasping. It's at 7 o'clock.
And Ef Shah, it says it's impossible for any created being, even the upper one, to perceive, to grasp, only, what do they grasp? A ray from Hashem. And that's why it's called Ziv. They're just receiving in Gan Eden, although they understand whatever they understand, but it's just a ray. But in Hashem Himself, in the essence of God, even upstairs they don't have. Leis machshavet tfisa b'hem, no thought can grasp Hashem. And specifically, in this world, that a person is occupied with parnasa, and his nefesh is subjugated to the body. So when it comes to tshuva, good deeds, that you are able to do them in this world, how do you do tshuva and good deeds in this world? You have to overcome the challenges. Whatever it is, the parnasa, the body. So by doing so, we are now tapping into the essence of Hashem that is above all the lights of Gan Eden. So in essence, the answer to the question is, why is it better to have 1 hour of good deed in this world than the entire life of the world to come? Because in this world, we can tap into the essence of Hashem, even though we don't feel it, but we're tapping into it. When we go through all the different challenges that we have in front of us, and ultimately continuing doing what we need to do, tap into the essence. And upstairs, you are exposed to godliness and you grasp it, and it's beautiful, but it's not the essence of God. So over here is the only place where we can tap into the essence of Hashem.